Hey, good morning. Today is Monday, May the 6th, 2024, and the time now is 7:11 a.m. Today I am going to begin my domestic Kenya series. This basically means that today will be the first day or the first time that I will be making a video, a program about Kenya. Okay? And in this case, the playlist for this program or this video will be Domestic Kenya. Now, I'm going to take a quick pause and then reintroduce the channel. So, the channel you are watching is The Echoing Voice. Okay? Once again, The Echoing Voice. I created this channel as a means to engage in discussions on various topics, especially geopolitics. I grew up in a world and at a time in Africa where and when the African voice, in terms of geopolitics or even in terms of domestic African situations, okay, or events, the African voice was often minimized or sidelined, okay, isolated. And as a young man, I also grew up watching people discussing geopolitics, mostly white people, white men. They were the ones who were the interviewers. They posed the questions. They were the interviewees. They answered the questions. They made statements. They made criticism, and the rest of the world basically went along with it. So as a result, I began to learn that things were unfair and that the control of information was a very serious thing and was one of the things that basically impacted Africa in terms of the negativity that we experience or continue to experience. We have people, outsiders, foreigners, foreign entities continue to tell our story. There is an African saying, okay, which this channel is also based on, which is that until the lions have their historians, tales of the hunt shall always glorify the hunter. And I do believe that the Kenyans, okay, they know about this saying, and I do believe that it is popular in Kenya. I am going to repeat it again. The African saying goes like this: until the lions have their own historians, tales of the hunt shall always glorify the hunter. And this is why I create this channel. I want to tell African stories. I want to give African people voice, or the African continent voice. Yes, I am going to talk about everything geopolitics relating to Africa, but I'm going to talk about events in terms of the general aspects of it, how the events impact Africa, and also events and situations and topics relating to the individual African countries. In addition, I do believe that I am part of the world. We Africans are part of this world. We are the birthers of this world, of humanity. So we do have voice on various topics in various parts of the world. This means that the echoing voice will explore topics and events and issues in every part of the world, in every country. Now, when you visit this channel, The Echoing Voice, there will be playlist for every country in the world, or every country in Africa for that matter. So in terms of the countries, there are at least two playlists. The first one will be the country's name, and the second will be domestic, the country's name. So this is how it goes. For Kenya, okay, a country on which this video is based, you will find Kenya. So the playlist Kenya will basically feature videos or programs relating to Kenya's position in the world and Kenya's relations with other countries. Basically, Kenya's geopolitical position in the world. And then you will find video, okay? Videos under the playlist, Domestic Kenya. Now, this program or video which you are watching right now is going to be under the Domestic Kenya playlist. The Domestic Kenya playlist will feature videos relating to events and topics pertaining to Kenya, the domestic or the realms of Kenya. So in this case, I'm going to be talking today about the recent flood in Kenya. Now, the way I found out about the flood in Kenya is very unique uh, in that, once again, I create this channel to give African people voice. And in addition to getting few subscription from those who watch online. And by the way, I am at 101 subscription as of now. But I go around and telling people about the channel. So let's say when I go to workout, when I go to the gym, I tell my friends, oh, I do have this channel. And I share the link with them. And then basically motivate them to watch my program and then give me feedback. So a week ago, actually, it was on a Saturday. Yes, it was on a Saturday or so. So I was at the gym. I worked out, and then after working out, okay, I usually go to the gym and run for an hour and do other things and then go to the sauna room. So one of my friend, okay, who is a Kenyan, and in fact, I often make a little smart joke at this guy. Why are you short? He's shorter than me. And I will basically stress the Kenyans, yes, they are slim, okay? They are very much toned, but the Kenyans are taller people. Why are you like 5 feet 2 inches? But anyway, he's a friend of mine. He's very intelligent and interesting guy. And we actually met at the gym. But anyway, I told him about the channel about maybe a month earlier. But when I saw him again, I asked him, I like, dude, have you been watching my program? And he told me, I'm going to continue to watch, but I'm very busy. And he asked, have you done any program on Kenya? And I'm like, no. And he said, look, there is something that happened in Kenya. And he told me that a dam disappeared in Kenya. So according to my friend, one of his cousin called from Kenya and he said, look, my man, your swimming pool disappeared. So in Africa, every one of us who grew up in Africa know that there are places where we go to swim. There is always a swimming hole somewhere or some river somewhere, okay, or some creek or some lake somewhere where we go to swim. So apparently, there is a place where he goes to swim whenever he visits Kenya and whenever he was a young person in Kenya. But he stated that his cousin called him, say your swimming pool has disappeared. But then as the conversation went on with his cousin disclosed to him that the reason is because the dam, which is many miles away from the capital city, Nairobi. As I've read, it is about 30 kilometers away from Nairobi, the capital city. But anyway, his cousin told him that the dam disappeared. So as a result, his pool is no longer available because the whole place is muddy. And I promised my friend I am going to look into it and I'm going to do a program about it. I have looked at several articles online, including some Kenyan articles or articles from Kenyan newspapers. This is one of the things that I'm going to be doing now to pay more attention to because a lot of the sources in the West basically present Western perspective. I want to get perspective and sources from people and institutions or organizations within the various countries. In this case, Kenya. So if you're watching this program and you're Kenyan, please feel free to subscribe, but also send me links of newspapers from Kenya, which I can look into. I will read, analyze, and basically make a program for you. So, but anyway, I have been looking into the matter since the situation happened, or since my friend told me. So he told me that the dam disappeared. But then when we spoke, I'm like, wow, did it disappear? Where is this dam, or where was this dam? And he stressed that the dam was in an area in Kenya, an area that basically has a very nice fertile land, which the colonialists basically took, as they did in various parts of Africa. Okay, in this case, it is very much strong in Kenyan history, where the British took the good land from the natives, basically kicked the natives off the good land, and the British colonists or Western colonists kept the good land for themselves. So he stressed to me that this area where the dam is, local Kenyans are not even allowed to go there. I don't know how truthful my friend's story is. And also, not only I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but because I am doing this program or programs like this, where I am talking about different countries, different situation, different topic, I want to make sure that I'm on point. But I began to look into the matter, and then it dawned on me that there was a flood, as my friend said, and that it is a result of a dam bursting. Because when I talked to my friend, when I spoke with him, I did stress, are you sure that the dam collapsed? Perhaps maybe they blow it up. Perhaps it is some kind of, what is it? I think the British do have sites in Kenya, military bases where they train. And it is very interesting. They have land in UK, but they go to Africa to train. The soil of Africa deserves better. But anyway, I looked into the situation and I began to collect or review articles. I basically managed to narrow my articles to three. But then yesterday, in preparation for this program today, I looked into another three articles. Now, I will apologize in advance that the three articles which I obtained yesterday are basically updated version, but I do believe in terms of the narrative, I can and I will use all six articles, which are actually seven articles in total. But anyway, the people of Kenya, please accept my sympathy. I am a Liberian. I am an African. I am your brother. Accept my sympathy, and I hope you people in Kenya continue to recover. It is traumatizing, okay? I know what you guys are going through. And it turns out that over 100 people have died due to the storm or the bursting of the dam, many of whom are children. Please accept my sympathy. However, I do know Kenyans will and can recover. I mean, you guys are amazing people. I remember growing up in Africa, even though I didn't know even how to pronounce many countries, or I was confused about many countries. We always knew about Kenya, whether because of the Maasai or the animals in Kenya, but also the the physical features of the Kenyans, okay, the physical makeup of the Kenyan people. Slim, toned up, very much long distance runner. I was amazed by the fact that every 4 years when we had the Olympics, or every time I watch international track and field, the Kenyans were dominating in terms of long distance running. So my thing is, if you Kenyans, if you guys can run forever and your heart never give up, there is no reason why your heart will give up in this case. I believe you guys will man and you guys will continue to man. So the Kenyan people, once again, you guys are amazing people. There is nothing that you guys cannot achieve. I watch Kenyans doing good things, doing big things throughout my life. Whether we are talking about on the rugby field, whether we are talking about on the track, okay, running the hell out of everybody in the world, okay, as I said a couple of seconds ago, if you guys, the Kenyan people, if you guys can run forever and your hearts don't give up, there is no way that your heart will give up as a result of this disaster in Kenya. And once again, as a Liberian, as a fellow brother, as a fellow African, accept my sympathy. It is a traumatic situation or event for Kenyan people. And it is bad that even though this program is about Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and Rwanda, and the various East African or Rift Valley countries, even Ethiopia, are going through extreme flood. Okay, there is extreme flood in the region, and it turns out that it is the rainy season currently, and you guys have been going through a lot. Now, for Liberia, my country, Liberia is just basically beginning to get into the rainy season. So we are looking at the rainy season between April, May to October. By June, July, August, or let's say by July, August, September, West Africa goes off with the rainy season. Liberia goes off. Sierra Leone, often Sierra Leone will have like some kind of disaster, like a landslide or some kind of flooding or so on. So I do know you are going to recover. But once again, thank you very much for watching. I've had good memories of Kenyan people. I have tried your ugali, okay? Kenyan people, I have tried your ugali. I love it, but I cannot wait to eat some more. But I remember when I was in college, a cousin of mine took me to some friend of his, their family. It was on Thanksgiving, actually. And I celebrated it with them, a Kenyan family, the father a professor, the mother a professor as well. They made some food. I ate that day. Let me say I'm a greedy person. Okay, I don't have self-control or home training when it comes to eating. I could not and I did not control myself. Not only because I'm full of it, but the food was so good. But I still remember one particular dish, Kenyan dish, was a stew that was made with coconut oil. It is the best thing, or one of the best thing I've ever eaten. I cannot wait to have my Kenyan friend maybe make some more of that, or maybe meet some more Kenyan people so I can eat some of the nice Kenyan dishes. But now I've spoken a lot about the finer things in life, about the best thing, about Kenya. Now let me proceed with my program. So for this program, I managed to gather about 6 to 7 articles. And I'm going to read for you the article's title, and then I will proceed. Now, the way my program works, whenever I use these articles, what I do is I state the articles' titles, and then I read parts of the articles which I have highlighted, which I think are essential to the narrative or to my arguments to the program. And then in the process, I will provide feedback. At the end of the program, I will read my description of the program, which I do believe oftentimes do serve as a conclusion as well. So I'm going to continue. The first article is from the BBC, and the article's title reads, Kenya flooding. Around 50 killed in villages near Mai Mahiu town. I want to apologize for brutalizing a Kenyan name, so please forgive me. Once again, I'm going to read this article's title. The article's title is Kenya flooding. Around 50 killed in villages near Mai Mahiu town. That's it. Now the second article is from The Guardian, and the title of the article reads, Dozens dead after dam burst amid torrential rain in Kenya. So in this case, to an extent, this validate what my friend said. My friend told me that the dam disappeared. Okay, the dam disappeared. Perhaps it burst, and then the weight or the force of the water basically just let it go, just took the pieces of the dam away. So I'm going to read the article's title again. So the article's title is Dozens Dead After Dam Burst Amid Torrential Rain in Kenya. And once again, this article is from The Guardian. Now, the next article, the third article, is from Yahoo. So this is a Yahoo article, or at least I got it from Yahoo. And the article's title reads, Kenya postpone reopening of school as flood-related deaths near 100. So let me stress that there has been updates to the death toll, and I think now it stands at 179 or so, or 200. So yeah. So once again, I'm going to stress the article is from Yahoo, and the article's title reads, Kenya postpones reopening of schools as flood-related deaths near 100. Now, one thing I have learned, and I must stress, is that it is said, okay, in one of the articles that I read, that school was supposed to open today, which is the 6th of May. So school was postponed due to the fact that the flooding is still going on, and a lot of people are still displaced. Some people are seeking shelter in local schools in the area or in other regions, and as a result of the floods and the displacement, that school was postponed or was supposed to be postponed until today, May the 6th. Now, the fourth article is also a BBC article, and it reads, Kenya, floods cause widespread devastation in Nairobi. Nairobi is the capital of Kenya. For those of you, or those of us, if you will, who do not know, Nairobi is an amazing place. I have not been there, but people who have been there, friends, have told me it is one of the pearls, one of the jewels of Africa. And they talk also about Mombasa. Okay, I have friends who I've communicated with and still communicate with who live in Kenya. So whether we are talking about Nairobi, whether we are talking about Mombasa and the other places in Kenya, Nairobi is an amazing place. And I've also seen Nairobi watching one of my brother, one of Africa's favorite son, Wodamaya, okay? An amazing guy who is basically showing Africa the sweetness, the goodness of Africa to the rest of the world. And once again, Wodamaya, if you're watching, thank you very much for everything you are doing for Africans. So I'm going to proceed. And once again, this article, number 4, is a BBC article. And the title reads, Kenya, floods cause widespread devastation in Nairobi. So that is the first 4 article. For article number 5, it is very tiny. It is a headline / article. I'm not even going to read any part of this article, and I did not even highlight any part of this article. But it reads, the title reads, Death toll from Kenya floods rises to 228. So this article is from Reuters, okay? It is a Reuters article / headlines. Once again, the title reads, Death toll from Kenya floods rises to 228. Now, the next article is a CNN article or headline, and it reads, Anger mounts as Kenyan left homeless and searching for loved ones swept away in flood. And this article has an author. And actually, this guy, I've watched a program with him, a program that he basically anchored on CNN. I believe it's The Right Guy. So this is a CNN article once again, and the title reads, Anger mounts as Kenyans left homeless in searching for loved ones swept away in floods. So this is the 6 articles. Now, for article number 7 is from the New York Times, and the title for this article or headline reads, Flooding in a Kenyan Natural Reserves Forced Tourist Evacuation. Actually, when I came across this article, I basically laughed. Okay? And the question I asked myself, who the hell give a damn about tourists? Kenyans are being displaced by flood and the bursting of a dam. Babies have died. Who care about some guy from Britain or the US or Canada who trying to go on a safari trip? It doesn't necessarily mean that they are coming from Britain or Canada or whatever. But that was my my reaction. Who care? And just because of the fun of it, I decided to add this article. And once again, this article is from the New York Times, and the article's title reads, Flooding in a Kenyan Natural Reserve Forces Tourist Evacuation. So that's it. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to begin to read the parts of the articles which I have highlighted, and I will offer or basically present my perspective in these parts. Now, I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue with the first article. Article number 1. The title reads, Kenya flooding. Around 50 killed in villages near Mairi town. Continue. A roaring sound woke people up in the early hours of Monday as a tide of water crashed down from upriver. Residents spoke of a night of frantic efforts to pull people out of the raging flood and dig them out of the mud. Diden Maori, 60, said he heard the roar and saw lightning flash, but before he had time to think, he was up to his neck in water. He saw the flood take his wife and was swept in the opposite direction. Convinced he was going to die, Mr. Maori said a quiet goodbye to his family. Miraculously, though, he was able to grab a tree branch and clung to life by hanging on it. One of his daughters knows how to swim, he said, and was able to rescue 2 of his grandchildren. Now to that question I ask, how many remain? Where are the rest? I'm very happy for my friend, my father here, that 2 of his grandchildren were rescued by his daughter. And big up to the lady for knowing how to swim. Big up to you, my sister, for being there at the right time, for making sure that your nieces or nephews or whatever they are, maybe one of each, survive. And you are a hero. Thank you again. But I'm going to continue. This is a quote. There are little babies in the water, older people. People are screaming. People are crying, losing their lives and their loved ones, he said. And it is very interesting looking at the articles. One of the articles that I looked at stated that about 17 children had died. This was at the time when the death toll was at 50. So if you have a death toll of 50 and 17 children, that's bad. If this was the total population of an area, losing 17 children basically is losing the population. That is the future. That is the end of the population. So this is a sad reality. But I'm going to continue. Okay, so it is very interesting. So this is actually the article. Of the bodies discovered so far, 17 were children. Police Commander Stephen Kirui said, cited by Reuters news agencies. The sudden wave of floodwater was initially attributed to a nearby burst dam by local officials. So I am going to continue. The sudden wave of floodwater was initially attributed to a nearby burst dam by officials. However, the Kenyan Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation said on Monday evening that the incident occurred as a result of tunnel, which channels the river Tongi under a railroad line becoming blocked with debris, stones, trees, and soil during the recent downpours. This prevented water flowing through it to move downstream, leading to a pool of water suddenly sweeping over the railway line, the ministry said in a statement. The area has no dam, and the only dam upstream in a different tributary is the Matches Dam, which is in good condition and stable. Now, a couple of things about the statement here. Many African countries are stressing, they are struggling with this. So it turns out that Kenya has a very strong water sanitation and irrigation system. One of the articles I read state that the government is basically reviewing and is trying to keep an eye on, I think, over 100 dams and reservoirs throughout Kenya. When I read that, I was very happy. So the fact that Kenya has that many dams and reservoirs is an example that many African countries need to copy. Many countries do not even have one. And you need your dams, you need your reservoirs for one, for the drinking water, for construction and other activities out there. So it shows to an extent how much Kenya is developed compared to other African countries. So I'm going to continue. The government has delayed the opening of schools across Kenya with more rain expected, according to forecasters. So once again, that's one of the things I talked about earlier. And it is said that school was actually supposed to open today, May 6th. More than 130,000 people have been displaced by the flood, with many people taking shelter in school. At least 155 people have been killed in Tanzania since January. In Burundi, nearly 100,000 people have been displaced. So you have 100,000 people displaced in Kenya, and many are seeking shelter in school. So, and again, it's a good thing that they are seeking shelter in school. It shows that the fact that they are seeking shelter in school, that there are available places where they can at least seek shelter. In this case, I would suggest that African countries, whether we are talking about Kenya, from West Africa to East Africa to South Africa, Southern Africa, Central Africa to North Africa, African countries may want to begin to build their infrastructure and construct buildings, public facilities that can also double up as residence or as a place that will hold displaced people. When there is a natural disaster, people can go to these facilities to seek shelter. Whether we are talking about stadiums, whether we are talking about courthouses, school buildings, airports, and so on. So actually, that's it for the first article. Now, for the second article is a Guardian article, and the title reads, Dozens Dead After Dam Burst Amid Torrential Rain in Kenya. Once again, it reads, Dozens dead after dam burst amid torrential rain in Kenya. And I am going to read the part of this article which I highlighted. So I will continue. Rescuers were digging through the debris using hoes and, in some cases, their bare hands in a desperate search for survivors. So I remember when I read this part, this line, I immediately highlight this line because I felt bad about it. First of all, why is it that the rescuers in Kenya are using hose to dig through debris or their bare hands to try to rescue people? In this case, it shows either the authorities were not ready, okay, they were unprepared, or in this case, it shows that this is the part where Kenya may want to make significant investment for the future. You may not be able to feed your people. However, as government, you must be ready to service or to serve your people, if you will, in terms of natural disaster. So every part in Africa, every country need to make significant investment in search and rescue, okay, in missions, in their organizations or their departments responsible for helping people in terms of disaster. So I'm going to continue, but I will read that again. Rescuers were digging through debris using hoes and, in some cases, their bare hands in a desperate search for survivors. We collected some of the bodies held by trees, and we don't know how many are under the mud, said Stephen Nyanja Nyoji, okay, said SNN. I do apologize. I do not want to pronounce the name. It sounds, it is difficult, and I don't want to make your name sound bad, okay? Yeah, it is difficult to pronounce, and I do not want to butcher the name. So I do apologize. I know you know who I'm talking about here. Said SNN, who was involved in the emergency effort. The disaster occurred at Old Kejabi Dam, a hillside barrier formed naturally over decades after railway construction work by Kenya's former British colonial rulers. So this kind of confirm what my friend did told me. I'm going to continue. The Interior Minister, Katuri Kendiki, said the government had directed security and intelligence officials to inspect all public and private dam and water reservoirs in their jurisdictions within 24 hours and recommended cases for compulsory evacuation and temporary resettlement. He said on X, that is Twitter, that authorities would arrest people engaging in risky behaviors, including motorists attempting dangerous crossing and anyone seeking to transport passengers across flooded rivers or dam water by unsafe canoe or boats. Now, when I read that, it makes sense. You have an authority that is trying to not only rescue its people, but it is also trying to make sure that the situation doesn't get out of hand. Okay, even though we are seeing floods, people are still trying to transport people through the area, okay, through rivers and so on. However, my thing here is, as a government, provide the necessary means for people to make their living, provide the necessary transportation infrastructure. Because if the infrastructure is not there, people are going to risk their lives. If young men are not able to make living, they are going to risk their life. Okay? So I just want to stress that. But I will continue. His comment came after a boat packed with people capsized at the weekend in flooded Tana River County in eastern Kenya. The Kenya Red Cross said it had retrieved 2 bodies and rescued 23 people. The government said search and rescue efforts were ongoing. Video footage shared online and on television showed the crowded boat sinking, with people screaming as onlookers watched in horror. In the southeastern Makuni County, footage circulating on social media showed a truck full of people plunging into a river shortly after it attempted to make a dangerous crossing in powerful currents. Local media reported that the Makuni deputy governor, Lucy Mulili, said 14 people had been rescued and 8 bodies recovered after the incident. I'm going to continue. The monsoons have also wreaked havoc in neighboring Tanzania, where at least 155 people have been killed in flooding and landslides. In Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, flooding claimed the lives of 4 people on Monday, according to the Fire and Disaster Risk Management Commission. A woman and her baby died in the Rwandan capital, Kigali, on Sunday when heavy rainfall caused their house to collapse, police said. In neighboring Burundi, one of the world's poorest countries, about 96,000 people have been displaced by months of relentless rains, according to the UN and the government. Uganda has also had heavy rainstorms that have caused riverbanks to burst, with 2 deaths confirmed and several hundred villagers displaced. So that's it for the article, for the second article. So I'm going to continue with article number 3. Article number 3 is a Yahoo article, and the title reads, Kenya postpones opening of schools as flood-related deaths near 100. I'm going to repeat. Kenya postpones reopening of schools as flood-related deaths near 100. I'm going to continue. Some schools remain adversely affected by the flooding, the Education Ministry said Sunday night. Local media reported that more than 100 schools were flooded, some with collapsed walls and roofs blown away. All schools were set to reopen on Monday but will now open on May 6. Once again, all schools were set to reopen on Monday, but will now open on May 6. 93 people have died in the flooding in Kenya, and that number is expected to rise after a boat capsized in the northern Garissa County on Sunday night. The Kenya Red Cross said it had rescued 23 people from the boat, but more than a dozen people were still missing. So this is kind of like what I just read in the previous article about the capsized boat. So now I am going to read the 4th article, okay? The parts of the 4th article which I highlighted. So for article number 4, the title is Kenya, Floods Cause Widespread Devastation in Nairobi. And this is a BBC article. Once again, article number 4 is a BBC article, and the title is Kenya, Floods Cause Widespread Devastation in Nairobi. And I'm going to read. Hundreds of others in Nairobi and nearby areas were marooned by floods following heavy rain overnight. Local media reported that residents of the Matari slum had been forced to sleep on rooftops overnight. Major highways have been submerged by floodwater, causing traffic jams across the country. So this is the part of the fourth article which I highlighted. So basically, so these articles were from the earlier times when the flood happened or when the dam burst. But for the fifth article, okay, article number 5 or headline number 5 is from Reuters, and it reads, the title reads, Death toll from Kenya flood rises to 228. So once again, article number 5 is a Reuters article or headline, and the title reads, Death toll from Kenya floods rises to 200. So this is a very tiny document, and there isn't enough in there to read, so I'm going to move along. Now for article number 6. Article number 6 is a CNN article, and the title reads, Anger mounts as Kenyans left homeless and searching for loved ones swept away in flood. And I'm going to read. When Julia Wanjiku put her son Isaac to bed last Sunday after a day celebrating his 3rd birthday, she didn't realize she was also saying goodbye. So my heart to Miss Julia Wanjiku. I understand how you feel. You happy your baby is growing up, and now all of a sudden you put the young man to sleep to never be able to see him again. I hope you recover from your loss as soon as possible. I know life has to move on, but this is no ordinary life. This is your little child. But once again, I pray the people of Kenya recover. I'm going to continue. We still don't know where our son is, Wanjiku told CNN. She was among the survivors gathering at Ngia Girls High School in Mahiri on Tuesday. Supported by her mother and her aunt, she wept as she said she was at least grateful she survived. Isaac's father was too devastated to speak. I understand, man. Your boy is gone. It's not an easy thing for a man to speak. We all trying to have a boy to play ball with, okay, to play cricket with, to play rugby with. And then all of a sudden, as your child is growing, your child just depart the world. It's not an easy thing to deal with. I'm going to continue. The flooding in Mai Maui has claimed the lives of at least 52 people, 18 of whom were children. So I did read this in the previous article, but it is said that 50 people had died and 17 were children. So what I just read here is the updated information. Now, in previous days, in this area, you had 50 people being lost, 17 were children. Now we have 52 people being lost and 18 are children. So the number continues to be updated. But I'm going to continue with article number 6. On Tuesday, Kenya's Interior Cabinet Secretary, Kithure Kindiki, announced 178 dams and reservoirs may spill over anytime, ordering people living near them to leave their homes within 24 hours or risk being forcibly removed. About 100,000 people were affected, said government spokesperson Isaac M. I'm going to read that again. On Tuesday, Kenya's Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki announced 178 dams and reservoirs may spill over anytime, ordering people living near them to leave their homes within 24 hours or risk being forcibly removed. About 100,000 people are affected, said government spokesperson Isaac M. So this kind of makes sense. You have to leave. If you don't leave, we're going to get you out by force. Now, I don't know how many dams and reservoirs Kenya has. Okay, and once again, I'm reading updated information. But if it is being announced that 178 dams and reservoirs may spill over. The fact that Kenya has so much, it shows the scale of development that Kenya has gone through in the past few decades after its independence. That's a good thing. Perhaps this is why Kenya and many East African countries are much more developed and they are stronger in terms of their agriculture industry or their agriculture infrastructure. So kudos to Kenya. Yes, we need more dams. Whatever you have, whether we are talking about 500, build more. We need more. Perhaps the Kenyans or the Kenyan government can help other Africans build dams and reservoirs throughout Africa. But I'm going to continue. But as the scale of the catastrophe widens, anger is growing over the pace of the government's response and a lack of information about what happens to those forced to flee. Human Rights Watch, a nonprofit headquartered in New York, criticized the government's action in a statement on Tuesday. It said the government had failed to put in place a timely national response plan, despite warnings from the Kenyan Meteorological Department as early as May 2023 that El Nino would intensify Kenya's rainy season. So that is very interesting, but I don't know why is it that Human Rights Watch is making such criticism. I think the problem here is, yes, they are doing good things, but it appears over and over that international NGOs are, to my knowledge or my belief, sometimes push the boundary to what they should be doing or should not be doing in terms of their relationship with other countries. But I'm going to continue. The unfolding devastation highlights the government's obligation to prepare for and promptly respond to the foreseeable impact of climate change and natural disasters, said Ngoa Totpo, Africa's researcher at Human Rights Watch. Heavy rains have also affected other East African countries, including Tanzania, where at least 155 people have died. I'm going to continue again, but the name is difficult. Mwaura. Muara. Muara pushed back strongly on criticism of the government, saying it was doing its best with the resources it had. You can never be quite fully prepared for these humanitarian crises, he said. He stressed the conversation should really be one about climate change and who is most responsible. Western countries are wreaking havoc by warming the earth, and African countries are paying the price, he said, despite accounting for less than 4% of global levels of planet heating pollution. So that's a very strong point. That's a very strong point. This is an issue of global climate change, as he says. But at the same time, African countries, or Kenya in this case, must be prepared. Now, I am going to continue with the seventh and final article. The article is from the New York Times. The article's title reads, Flooding in a Kenyan Natural Reserve Forces Tourist Evacuation. And I'm going to continue. On Wednesday, the Talek River broke its banks and overflowed into parts of the natural reserve, flooding many tourist camps. A spokesman for the Kenyan Red Cross, Munir Ahmed, said that more than 90 people have been evacuated, some by helicopter, others fled through the water. Now, to that, the question that I ask, who provided the helicopter? because it is very interesting and it also shows power dynamics where foreign tourists may come into a country, and then when something happens, they immediately are taken care of. So it is very interesting in this case that they are able to, 90 of them are able to be evacuated from the area. I want to see what is being put in place in terms of Kenya's ability to evacuate the average Kenyan. And I'm talking about not just for this incident, but in the future or in various cases. So I'm going to continue. We are seeing a disaster unfold, said Brian Atkins, who heads a trust that helps protect the Kijabi forest, which has also been decimated by the flood. So that parts of this article, when I read it, it is very interesting though. The name Brian Atkins basically gives him up as a foreigner. The name Brian and Atkins, it sounds kind of American, but it's also interesting. Okay, he basically is the head of a trust that helps to protect the Kajabi forest. It is interesting how foreigners are going to Africa, or foreign entities, foreign institutions, or individuals. They are the ones who are protecting African forests or wildlife. But then the question I would ask, for who? Who are you protecting it from? Who are you protecting it from? And we have to be very careful because these land or places that they are protecting, I do believe, have vital natural resources. In this case, you have entities that are protecting these natural places, okay, for natural resources for themselves. I'm going to continue. Only part of Masai Mara has been affected, said Mohammed Harsi, director of a safari company and the former chairman of the Kenyan Tourism Federation. But Alfred Mutua, the county's tourism minister, warned on Wednesday that all hotels and camps near rivers and within national parks and reserves should prepare for potential evacuation in case rivers overflow. Now, it is very interesting that the Kenyan government or the authorities in this case is basically preparing people to evacuate should there be a problem in the future. But my question here is, why didn't they do this at the beginning? Okay, why didn't they do this prior to the flood or the dam bursting? So I think it is a problem on their part as well. This is something that they could have done, okay? You cannot wait for something to happen and then you are going about trying to warn people. So when I heard about the situation, okay, the dam disappearing, as my friend said, or that a dam burst in Kenya, I asked myself, what was the authority doing? What plan do they have in place to deal with something of this proportion? So it is very interesting. But to be honest, the fact now that they are taking the initiative to try to warn people and try to get on the offensive so that if the natural disaster expands, they can basically manage it. But it is too late. Over, what is it, 228 people have died, thousands of people or hundreds of thousands of people displaced, and many homes destroyed. It is too late. But still, I will give it to them. I'm going to continue. Kenya's long rainy season, which runs from April until June, is not a prime time for tourism. But those who are there now have found their plans upended. People don't want to come here to drive around in a lake, Mr. Atkin said. Okay, that may be true, but the thing is, nobody cares. The most important thing right now is that a country is going through a natural disaster, that is what's important. That is what the system, the country should be dealing with. In this case, you have this guy, Atkins, who is basically, what he is doing right now is talking money. He's talking about tourism. This is not time for tourism. Screw tourism. We are talking about the average people in the country who's lost their lives, their properties, their loved ones. That is the most important thing, not tourism. So the situation in Kenya indicates that Kenya has done enough in terms of the development in the country, but also there are more things that Kenya has to do. Okay, there is more to be done, much to be done in terms of future improvement and to be able to execute. Okay, to address the needs of the people. Obviously, this disaster it shows that one, the country does need to redo, okay, to revisit its building structure. In this case, I'm talking about the houses, okay, the homes, because the disaster, as a result of it, a lot of people, their houses got destroyed, their roofs got basically flung away by the heaviness, the force of the wind or the rain, if you will. Also, the country might want to develop its analysis system, its education system, its professionalism in terms of those professionals who are in the position to assess the various projects or structures, and that the activities must be done, must be carried out often and thoroughly. Look, the truth here is when you have a dam bursting, okay, whether the result was because the dam was weak, the dam has not been renovated, or whether the power of the storm was so big, so tough, so strong that it basically ate away the land around the dam, which basically made it to give way, or the rain was just powerful. Either way, it shows that structures that are vital, as we are talking about in this case, like dams, they must be well built, and they must be renovated and analyzed thoroughly, constantly. You should have a situation in Kenya where the authority, if they are doing their job with the constant work, the constant renovation, the constant report, they will be in a position ahead of disaster to warn their people to get out of the way of the disaster, so they can either reduce or prevent death. But my hope here is that other countries in the region, in Africa, to pay attention to what's happening in Kenya and take notice, okay? Basically, use it as an example to begin to strengthen their own situation, because Africa, it rains a lot. Sometimes you might have regions that might be denied of rain for a prolonged period of time. And then all of a sudden, they are bombarded with flood, with a whole lot of rain. And when this happens, you would want the country to be in a position to manage the potential or the possible, if you will, disaster that may unfold. And I think this is what we are seeing in Kenya. But as much as it is said that about 228 people have died, and many are yet to be found, and many homes are destroyed, and if you calculate the displaced in the region, from what I am looking at, it is approaching 1 million people displaced in that region as a result of the flood. Flooding is a big deal in Africa, okay, where in many cases the drainage are not being renovated or serviced. I know recently in Nigeria, and I made a video about that. That was a heavy rain, and because of the rain, a prison building and a perimeter fence of the prison got destroyed, which led to 119 prisoners escape. A couple of years ago in Sierra Leone, a heavy flood basically led to landslide. I remember one of those years in 2017. I was actually in Africa. I was actually in Sierra Leone when it happened. And my aunt actually lived in the area. Okay. My cousin actually, the disaster missed her. She was right in her house and the thing just went through. So we are having this situation in various African countries, especially at this time. But the issue here now is to manage it to the fullest so as to limit the amount of death or altogether to prevent death. Now, I am going to end by reading the description for this program, which I do believe will also serve as a conclusion. And I will continue. Kenya, flash flood or dam disappearing. The story as it is being said, okay, as it is presented in the news. More than 200 people have died due to torrential rain and the bursting of a dam over 30 kilometers away from Kenya's capital, Nairobi. Hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced in Kenya and East Africa. Possibility. Now, the possibility is basically me trying to explore the idea that this dam, as my friend said, disappeared altogether or as a result of the storm, or who knows, maybe it's foul play. But I'm going to continue. Possibility. My friend told me about a week ago that a dam had disappeared in Kenya, causing floods in and out of its immediate location in various regions and communities. He stated that the dam was on land originally taken by Europeans when they gobbled up all of the fine land in Kenya, and that many locals could not even go to the area. Question number 1. What is a flash flood and what causes it? Number 2. Did it rain on that night or that day of the flash flood? Number 3. Was the flood a natural disaster or the result of a collapsed dam? If the latter, where is the dam located and what was the dam's condition before the collapse? Number 4. Had the Kenyan authority been renovating or maintaining the dam? If so, how often and what records do they have to show its condition? Did they warn people of the potential danger? Why didn't they warn people who live on the flood's path about the possible threat? Number 5. Given this disaster, will the Kenyan president still send a police force to Haiti, or will he use it to focus on handling the situation in Kenya? Number 6. Why are there private dams in Kenya? Do the owners of these dams have the resources to deal with the potential disaster caused by their dam? Suggestion number 1. Independent Kenyans and African observers and local Kenyans must observe the dam site. Did this dam collapse due to its weight, the heavy rain, or a lack of renovation? Was it blown up? The priority now for the Kenyan people is to find the truth, hold the authorities accountable, and prevent cover-ups. Suggestion number 2. Return to your villages and rebuild. Watch to see if some strange government or foreign project springs up in the region in the future. It happens that this was either an artificial disaster, man-made disaster, or an attempt to take advantage of the condition of the people in their most vulnerable times and profit from their loss. So that's it, guys. Now I'm going to end here. Please tell me what you think, okay? Share your opinion, share this with other people, and join the conversation. But most importantly, thank you very much for watching The Echoing Voice. Peace.